Hi, my name is Sylvie. I am a certified health coach and fitness trainer. I help women look great and feel great through fasting and exercise. Today's video is about intermittent fasting and coffee. We're going to talk about how coffee may impact your fasting. I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of an experiment I did on my own fasting by taking note of my ketone and my glucose levels each day. And then I'm going to give you 5 different intermittent fasting coffee options that I think you're really going to enjoy. So the first thing you need to know is that technically the only kind of coffee that will not break your fast is black coffee. Because black coffee only has 2 calories per cup. And to practice what we call clean fasting, you need to realize that anything that contains calories breaks your fast. So whatever it is that you put in your coffee will break your fast. However, you may find that you can put some things in your coffee and that won't affect your blood glucose levels or your ketone levels. And in that case, if you are simply looking for the autophagy benefits of your fast, then it's perfectly fine. You can enjoy your coffee with some additives. It depends on the person. Some people cannot even drink coffee black and without noticing that it impacts their blood glucose. It may be a good idea for you to check if it does impact your blood glucose, and for that I use a Keto Mojo. I love the Keto Mojo because it's one device and you can test both your ketone levels and your blood glucose. So if you're interested in purchasing this, I'll leave a link in the description that will give you 15% off. Another thing that is interesting to note about coffee and fasting is that coffee may actually induce autophagy. There are some studies that suggest coffee actually accelerates the repair process that your body undergoes when you fast. So that's great news for those of you who love your morning coffee. So when you start adding stuff to your coffee, you move on to the realm of dirty fasting. And dirty fasting is just basically allowing yourself to consume fats during your fast, because fats will often not impact your blood glucose and may even increase your ketone levels. Before I give you my intermittent fasting coffee recipes, I want to talk briefly about an experiment I did. So I wanted to see how each of the recipes was going to impact my blood glucose and my ketone levels. I started on the first day with black coffee. Then I realized that my glucose was not changing, although it did increase a tiny bit. But you have to realize that these devices, like the Keto Mojo, have an air margin of 10%. So technically it didn't really increase. And my ketone levels stayed exactly the same. However, on that first day, I woke up a bit later. I usually wake up at 5. On that morning, the first morning, I woke up at 6. And then the other mornings, when I got up, I noticed that my glucose level was lower. Instead of being 5, it was 4.6. And then it was the same thing every single morning after that, and I noticed that it increased over 5 mmol per liter. You know, like when I tested the next time, which was about half an hour to an hour later. I didn't really think that the coffee was causing this because I had done the experiment before. I started thinking about the dawn effect. Usually the issue of the dawn effect is brought up for those who have diabetes, but even healthy people tend to have a spike in blood glucose anytime between 2 a.m. and 8 a.m. I thought maybe that's what was going on. And one morning I tested my blood glucose and didn't have anything, didn't have any coffee of any sort. And I confirmed that was in fact what was happening, because again, my blood glucose was higher. So keep in mind that we can safely assume that all these coffee options did not rise my blood glucose. My ketone levels stayed the same. So knowing that is really helpful when I was evaluating my results. And then also one morning, I think it's the morning I tested the Bulletproof Coffee, I waited longer to test it. I waited after my typical time for the dawn effect and found that there was absolutely no increase in blood glucose. And as you will see when I give you my Bulletproof Coffee recipe, I even put coconut milk in my Bulletproof Coffee, which has carbs. So a little tiny bit of carbs may even be safe for you, depending on your metabolism. Okay, so now let's move on to my 5 intermittent fasting coffee recipes. The first one is just coffee with coconut milk. That's what I've been drinking for probably 2 years now. It was my favorite way to have a coffee. I am no longer dairy sensitive, which is good news, and I think a big factor in getting rid of my dairy sensitivity is probably fasting. As you know, fasting reduces inflammation, but so I don't seem to react any longer when I have dairy, but I still try to consume it in moderation, and I love the coconut milk in my coffee. I really got accustomed to it. However, you just gotta be careful when you pick your brand. Some brands are more creamy than others, some are more chunky and thicker. And so you need to find a brand that's nice and creamy and make sure it's full fat. And then try that, see if you like it. You put just enough to achieve the color that you enjoy, depending on how light or dark you like your coffee. Second intermittent fasting coffee option is a very obvious one that's super popular in the world of intermittent fasting, and that's the Bulletproof Coffee. If you go online looking for Bulletproof Coffee recipes, you will find that there's a lot of different variations. You can go as simple as just putting MCT oil and butter in your coffee. I use coconut milk because I know I can have it. I tested it and I don't love black coffee at all. So what I did is I put probably half a tablespoon of MCT oil, half a tablespoon of butter, just enough coconut milk to make it to my liking. And then I put that all in the blender. That was my Bulletproof Coffee. And I have to say, I really enjoyed the way this coffee made me feel. I never felt so satisfied for so long. Fasting was much easier. I was not even hungry at 3 in the afternoon, which I thought was very interesting. That is something to consider if you are wondering if you should include a Bulletproof Coffee into your fasting regimen. Maybe you can try it and see if that also helps you fast longer. If it's the case, maybe that's a benefit that you will appreciate. Another intermittent fasting coffee recipe that I wanted to share with you is chocolate coffee. And I thought that would be interesting to try when I looked it up and found that recipe. Basically, all it is a bulletproof coffee, and you add a tablespoon of cocoa nibs to your bulletproof coffee. You blend everything together, and it gives it this nice chocolatey flavor. Some recipes do add some sugar alcohols to that chocolate coffee. Some suggest that sugar alcohols also may raise your blood sugar, so that's something to consider, but you could just add stevia, it's another option. I just had it plain like that, and I really enjoyed it. It's certainly something that I am going to do again. There's also a cinnamon coffee. Some people just add cinnamon to their black coffee, and they find that it really improves the flavor. They enjoy that, and they can drink their coffee black that way. Plus, you have all the health benefits of cinnamon. Cinnamon is shown to improve insulin sensitivity, and it also has great antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. And lastly, I have an Himalayan salt coffee recipe to share with you. And with the Himalayan salt coffee, the idea, again, is just to add a pinch of Himalayan salt to your coffee. Whether it's black, whether it's bulletproof, or just with coconut milk, or whatever you put in it, you can add a pinch of Himalayan salt, and some people say that it helps remove some of the bitterness. And not only that, but Himalayan salt has healing properties as well. Himalayan salt has tons of minerals and trace elements that you don't find in regular table salt. So that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed these intermittent fasting coffee recipes. Let me know what you think. For me, I think I am a new fan of the bulletproof coffee. If you find a new favorite, share it with me in the comment below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you for watching.